Thanks for clicking in. My name's Promit, I'm one of the members of Group 139, and today we're going to be going through our COGS 108 project titled Accidents Across Sectors of Flight. Along with Josh, Wei, and Najmi, we focused on uncovering trends within aviation accident data over time, specifically within the various different sectors of aviation. Our central research question was this: which aviation sector, commercial, general, or military, has the highest accident rate over time? In order to investigate this, we compiled a dataset of over 28,000 observations dating from 1918 to 2022, detailing records from all over the world. Our hypothesis was that over time, aviation safety had increased, so we should see an overall decrease in fatality rates. But what we also wanted to see was if that trend carried over to every flight category. Now, before we dive in, we want to acknowledge some ethical considerations. We're aware that our findings could skew the general public's perception of aviation as a whole and each individual flight sector. If our results are misinterpreted or inaccurate, it could lead people to make risky travel decisions based off of bad information. For those reasons, accuracy and transparency were crucial to our approach. Now, let's get into the setup. With our data, the first thing that we had to do was prepare it. We recategorized our flights into 3 segments: military, commercial, and general aviation. We also dropped any columns that weren't necessary for our analysis, and we also dealt with any missing or inconsistent entries. This allowed us to make meaningful comparisons across every sector. Once our data was cleaned, we moved on to exploratory analysis. We used plots and statistics to understand our general trend and distribution of fatality rates. One major insight is that half of the accidents had fatality rates of over 80%, meaning crashes were typically very deadly. We also found that most crashes only involved a few passengers, but when bigger aircraft were involved, the death toll was much higher. When we broke it down by sector, we saw a general decrease in fatality rates, but with a few differences. Commercial aviation improved the best by far, likely due to regulation and safety standards. Military aviation, however, was consistently higher in the fatality rate. To formalize our findings, we ran an ordinary least squares, or OLS regression. OLS is a statistical method that helps us estimate relationships between variables. In simple terms, it helps us see how changes in one variable, such as flight time or type, relates to the changes in another variable, like fatality rates. In our model, we used general aviation as our baseline. We found that over time, military aviation had a significantly higher fatality rate, whereas commercial aviation had a significantly lower fatality rate compared to general aviation. This supports what we saw earlier. Commercial aviation has made a lot of improvements, but military aviation still poses a lot of risk. However, our model isn't perfect. Our R-squared value only came out to 0.02. What this means is that only 2% of the variation in fatality rates can be attributed to time and flight sector. What this means is that there could be a whole host of issues that could be contributing to the fatality rate. This could be pilot training, this could be mechanical, this could be weather-related, and so many other things. To wrap up, our analysis showed a clear and statistically significant difference in fatality rates between aviation sectors, with military having the highest between 1980 and 2022. We used multiple methods, including OLS regression, Kruskal-Wallis H-test, and chi-square test to ensure that our results were statistically significant, well below the threshold of 0.05 on p-value. With that being said, our OLS model had a very low R-squared value at 2.3%. This means that although it's significant, there isn't very much going on there that explains the variability, likely due to the clustering of fatality rates right by 0 and 1. When we looked over time, we saw a spike around 1945 for aviation crashes, which lines up with wartime incidents. Post-1950s, commercial and general aviation showed significant improvements, but military aviation remained volatile. Ultimately, fatality rates are shaped by many factors. And while trends are visible, it's not easy to tie them to a single cause. When it comes to the implications of this study, we're hoping that it brings some attention to address why the fatality rate in military aviation is still up there compared to civilian and commercial aviation. Maybe military aviation needs some improvements in aviation safety and policy with their regulations. Overall, we hope that you found our data and methodology interesting and compelling. We'd love to see the project go further. Thanks for taking the time to watch.